That's the second biggest monkey head I've ever seen.
I used to be an adventurer like you. Then I took an arrow in the knee.
Can I tell you what the definition of insanity is?
Hello and welcome to episode 53 of PvA Radio. I am one of your hosts, Luke Croft. Joining me, as always, the best man in gold, ladies and gentlemen. It's Larry Hunt. How are you doing, my friend?
It's true, I am. Thank you. I'm good. How about you?
I am doing wonderful, man. And I'm sure we'll talk more about 222 Lock here as we move throughout the show. But yeah, no, it's good, man. Tomorrow's my Friday. This week's been a little like dragging on for me, which most weeks do at this point. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to my early day off tomorrow. And then I am also looking forward to you coming to my home on Friday to hang out with me, barring something unexpected happening. Oh, I didn't know if you...
I'm very excited. Sorry.
It's all good. What's up, Circle Hunter in the chat? This is PvA. This is PvA Radio. We get together each and every week over here on twitch.tv/PvA Radio at 9:30 p.m. Eastern time on Wednesdays. And each of us brings one of the biggest gaming news stories of the week to the table. And then we have an in-depth discussion about it. Consider it your collaborative audio feature article or your CAFA, if you will. And Larry, what do we want people to do with that?
You're going to get some matches. You're going to get some gasoline. You're going to get in your car, use the gas to get to your destination. You're going to use the matches to light a candle to guide your way through the darkness as you put graffiti on something with an initial CAFA.
That is exactly right. That is exactly what we want the people doing. So
it's very convoluted.
Yeah. Which I would expect nothing less. So if you can't catch us live for these shenanigans over on twitch.tv/PvA Radio, you can find us on youtube.com/PvA Radio the next day, where you can either watch the entire episode or we break it out topic by topic if you just want to listen to the parts that you care about. Or you can find us on podcast services everywhere, including iTunes, Spotify, and Google Podcasts. I feel like they change what they call it. I think it's Google Podcasts now.
Is it? I don't know. I don't use it, so.
Yeah. So I was using Spotify for the longest time for my podcast, and I've switched back to using Apple Podcasts because there's just some shows that aren't on Spotify still, from where they had like their big, we're really like gatekeeping who can be on our platform, and I guess some people still think that that's the case, and so they don't submit. But it's like, motherfucker, we over there on Spotify. They letting everybody over.
There are no standards.
Exactly. We are living proof, guys. So
I use Stitcher, and I love it for the features. It's a great app, but my one problem with it is they run their own ads between podcasts.
Oh, that's weird.
And they're always super loud.
That's real weird. Well, Twitch does the same thing, man. Twitch is horrible in terms of like, hey, you're watching something at this level, and oh my gosh, G Fuel. Getting hella loud, so I can totally relate, but that's really weird. So do you like when you listen to podcasts? We're meandering here because it's been a slow news week, so and Cody's not here with us this week, and we didn't get a guest on with us. So when you listen to podcasts, do you like roll from one podcast to another like pretty sequentially?
Sometimes, because what I tend to do to preserve my data is I'll download the ones I want to listen to. I'll put them in my saved list, and then I can just like listen to that as a playlist of podcasts.
So even then, when you've downloaded them, it plays ads between them?
If I'm still connected to data, it will. If I'm not, it won't. But I usually don't actually turn my data off because it doesn't use it except for the ad.
Okay. All right. That makes sense. More reason for me to not use Stitcher. What features do you like about it?
I've only tried a couple, and I guess it's not the features so much as the UI to use those features. A lot of the Android podcast apps are just so much more complicated than they need to be. And I need to try some new ones. So if anyone in the chat has recommendations, let me know.
I know Pocket Cast is a big one that people recommend. So I've never used it, so I can't personally recommend it. Unless they want to pay me to recommend it, and then I'll act like I'm personally recommending it because I am a total sellout. So
same.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, let's jump into the show for this week. I don't really have any housekeeping at the top except to say, come join us for the PvA Nightly Rundown. I feel like that show is getting awesome. We're starting to break that out in individual topics over on YouTube that are starting to get more traffic. But I think what I want to make that show special is people coming by and chatting about the gaming news as it's happening, as we're talking about it. So come and add your voice to that show. That's every weeknight except for Wednesdays at 9 p.m. over here on twitch.tv/PvA Radio.
And there's stuff every day. We just don't have time to talk about it all here. And some of it's it wouldn't carry much conversation, but it's worth stopping by each night.
Yeah. All right. Well, Larry, let's start this week off like we get every week started off over, which we had to do this week. With what have you been playing, Larry? What have you been playing the last week?
So last week I talked about a study about video games and their usefulness for stress reduction, and so I checked out a couple of mobile games. I tried Animal Crossing Pocket Camp again, but it's not the slow meandering thing, because in order to hook you into their mobile system and get you to spend real world money, they just have all these things you have to keep up with. So that game was just stressful still, so I quit it. But I found a really cool mobile game called Night of the Full Moon, and it's like a card collecting battling game. But it's entirely against AI. It's not a PvP thing, and you don't buy the cards, you just unlock them over the course of the game. And it's telling a story. You're investigating the curse on this town at the full moon. You're Little Red Riding Hood. You're trying to figure out what happened to your grandmother. It's a really fun little horror game that you only have to spend money on once you've beaten the plethora of story you get for free. If you want to purchase for $1 another section of story to hear about. So it's a pretty fun little time killer. De-stressor.
Spoiler alert, your grandmother got eaten by a wolf who's been masquerading as a man named Lucan as you've been playing the game. Little jab at the Order 1886 over here.
Yep. I've played some Apex, jumped into the event, and it's I'm less disappointed in this than I have been in previous releases of new content from Apex. The cool thing about it is they did finally take the time to produce really cool skins for a lot of characters, and I appreciate that has finally happened. First, they showed off a Wraith skin, and I was like, really? Another Wraith skin? Is this the... And I even tweeted it, right? I was frustrated. Is this... I said, it's great to see the Wraith skin, but I'd like to see you put the same effort into the rest of the characters.
He didn't just tweet it. He tweeted it at the Apex Legends account.
Of course. And
because Larry doesn't subtweet anyone. If he's talking about you, he's going to at you.
It's true. But then they shocked me and made me look like a real idiot by releasing all kinds of cool skins.
No. That's not what it was. It wasn't. It was the fact that you changed the course of the game.
Oh,
yeah. They read your tweet and they were like, all right, boys, back to the drawing board. We got to pump these skins out for Lair Hunt Zombies over here on Twitter.
We've got 24 hours.
Good job by them.
Yeah, real impressive. But so I'm real impressed with the content as far as the skins they put out. It's great. And the changes to the map, Octane's arena that you can go through, it's a really, really interesting thing. But my frustration with it is the challenges this time in the event don't unlock the content. They give you these points that you can spend in the event store, which would be fine, except only some of the items can be bought in the event store. And there are 24 items that, for the most part, can only be gained through event-themed packs. But only 2 of the challenges give you a pack, and the rest of the packs you have to purchase with the gold currency, which it takes forever to build up in the game. And 1 pack is the equivalent of 7 real-world dollars. And
so, forgive my ignorance here, Larry. I just need some clarity here.
Yeah.
Is this special event separate from the season pass stuff?
It is.
Okay. All right.
It's just a 2-week extra.
Okay.
And that makes it frustrating as well, because they've tied the coolest content so far to a 2-week event when you've only had like 1 or 2 skins that were worth it in a season pass. And so it's counting the 2 packs that you get for free, you could have all of the new content. How many packs would it take? I'm sorry.
He's doing math, ladies and gentlemen. He went to Bible college. If you're listening to this on audio, there's smoke coming out of his ears.
Yes. So if you complete the challenges, you could get the rest of the packs that you need for $42. But I really don't like the method where there's no way to buy some of these skins. Some of it relies completely on chance, and you could drop a significant chunk of money just to get a skin you want.
So, again, just trying to get some clarity here. It's a 2-week event. Do you think it is reasonable to think that anyone who plays this game like a normal human being would, not these people who stream the game for 10 hours a day, a normal person would be able to earn the gold required to buy enough packs to be able to get all the event skins?
Well, you can earn the gold anytime.
Okay.
So some people may have enough saved up to buy some packs, but the gold is the same thing that you use to buy new season passes. So if you've saved up that much, you've probably used it to buy your season pass.
Yeah.
But it takes a long time. Like, I don't know that I've ever spent the gold currency, and I play the game a pretty decent amount, and I only have, I think I've got like 750 of it. So I could buy a pack if I wanted to, but I'm saving it up for the next season pass.
Wait, you can buy a pack, one pack, for the amount of gold that you've accrued since you've started playing the game?
That is correct.
Okay, so that's the answer to my question. Because you play it far more than a reasonable individual.
Yeah. So it once again, it's one of those. I love Apex, but there've been I don't know. They've had some decisions where I'm like, I was willing to give them the benefit of the doubt with the releases of the season pass and the lack of content for those, just because they were getting the game off the ground. But as time goes on, like this left a bad taste in my mouth. It made me, me, I would have been hooked. I was ready to be hooked into this event. And I played last night till I finished the challenges. Then I went in and figured out how that store worked. And I was like, all right, never mind. I'm not going to waste my time. Overwatch just released some things that I want to go check out. So buy Apex.
Yeah. Do you give it a little bit more of a pass, given that it is a completely free to play game?
Not really on the decision to only have something accessible through the packs. Like, even if it's difficult to obtain what I need to buy the skin outright, I think there should be the option to buy the skin outright.
Yeah.
But I can see where some others may disagree, but that's kind of how I feel about it.
Yeah, and we talk about this a lot when we talk about loot boxes, and we're going to talk more about loot boxes here in just a bit, but I think it'll be from a different angle.
Yeah.
So, like, I just don't understand why people don't recognize why these game companies don't recognize that there is a segment of their audience who would pay a decent amount of money to be able to just buy the skin outright without having to worry, am I going to blow $28 on these packs and still not get what I'm going to get? Like, I would pay like, even with Overwatch, and I feel like Overwatch, the ability to earn loot boxes and stuff like that, it's pretty reasonable. Like, you earn them pretty quickly. But even if it's a cool enough legendary skin, I'd be willing to pay, like, I don't know, maybe I wouldn't be willing to pay, like, I would say like $7 maybe. I would pay the $7 I'd pay for a pack just to get the skin that I want. I guess that doesn't really work out mathematically for them.
Yeah. For me, if it was something really cool, I might drop $5 on it. But that's more than they would have got out of someone like me, who's not going to drop any bucks on Apex packs where I might get it.
Yeah.
But then there are people that offset you and I, and that's what makes it all worth it.
But I think you could do those two things by saying, like, and again, not totally understanding how these packs work, but let's say that, like, you're guaranteed one of these items in the pack, changing it to, you have a chance that all three of the items in the pack are legendaries for that $7 that you bought the pack for, or you're guaranteed one, but it may not be the one that you want. Like, that gives enough incentive for the kinds of people who like the loot box mechanics to pay for the loot box mechanics, while also being able to serve people like you and I, who are much less likely to drop real world money on a loot box.
Yeah.
You all right over there?
Sorry, my allergies are flaring up since we're transitioning into fall here in Southern Virginia.
Mm-hmm. The pumpkin spice latte coming back in 2 weeks. We talk about it over on the PvA Nightly Rundown, youtube.com/PvA Radio.
And fun fact, Luke and I were once featured in our photo was featured in a CNN article about pumpkin spice.
Yes, I should have brought that up. I totally forgot about that.
And it was hashtagged white girl. It was a very embarrassing moment for me. Didn't realize that.
Not for me. I'm married. I don't care.
Just pull your pictures like that.
Yeah, dog, it's public. They just have to put Instagram.com in italics.
And then the only other thing I've been playing has been Overwatch. And dude, I knew once they put 222 back in, it was going to make the game a lot more playable for me. Because 90% of my frustration is people refusing to even pick a comp that could be remotely viable. Circle Hunter says, please post this at your earliest convenience. I'll send it to you, buddy. Anyway, the 222 takes a lot of the headache out of the game. I love being able to create and experiment with different comps, but the reality is most Overwatch players really overestimate their capacity to do that, and it makes playing at gold a lot more bearable. There's still people that are stupid, like we had our second main healer yelling at me for playing Pharah, and still don't know what that was about. So you still have people that think they understand the game when they don't, but all in all, this has made it a lot more playable, and I will be playing some Overwatch from here on out.
Yeah, 222 is awesome. I've spoken at length about it on the Nightly Rundown, but I really do think that it's a game changer for the amount that people are gonna, for the ways that people will be able to enjoy the game. Like, it takes a lot of the stress out of loading into a game and making sure you get the role you want as fast as possible, which for you is more of a struggle than for me, because you like to play DPS, whereas I am a tank, and normally people aren't really clamoring to play tank. But it also is incentivizing me to want to go back and pick up more DPS heroes, because it's gonna, you have your separate SR based on the role, and so I don't care if I'm straight feeding as a DPS player, because I know that my SR is going to be highest at the tank on tanks.
Yeah. Circle Hunter says unapologetic Pharah main, and Pharah, like, I had to ask Luke when the second main healer was yelling at me for being Pharah. I was like, am I wrong? Is two main healers like a good thing now? And he's like, no, this guy's an idiot. But there's no reason to apologize for being Pharah right now. She is very useful.
Yeah. Well, and it would have been, and not to get too in the weeds with Overwatch, it'd have been fine if you guys were running the Far Mercy together, like running a pharmacy. But you weren't. And so yeah, the two main healers was not a great thing. Also, side note, you have 500 followers on Instagram?
Me?
Yeah.
Huh. I guess so.
Well, yeah, I've got the CNN article pulled up, and it shows your follower count. You have 497 followers, dude.
Nice.
You using those hashtags? It's because you post.
Oh yeah. I bet a lot of it is from that year I ran every day of the year. I picked up a lot of followers that year.
Yeah, I'm scrolling through right now. A lot of running pictures in here. So, understandable.
They've been real disappointed for the last 2 years when I haven't run every day.
You can just post pictures of you not running every day with the same hashtags and see how that goes for you.
I should just recycle the pictures from that year. There are so many, no one will be able to tell the difference.
Nah, dog, they'll scroll back through, then there'll be a whole different CNN article about you. Yeah, but I'm excited. I'm also excited by the number of people that I've talked to and that I've see on Twitter and saying I'm going to get back into Overwatch because of this and give it a shot. But they're going to be really disappointed when they realize that it's still just a bunch of, 5 IQ players in the 222 lock. It doesn't make them any smarter. You're just guaranteed that they're going to play a certain role and be dumb in that certain role. So
I chose to play main tank. I'm not going to take space. I just really like how this character looks in the back line.
I see a lot of the pros playing Orisa. Is that how it's pronounced? Orisa?
Should I put this shield against this wall back here?
And only have it useful for me? All right, we're bitching at this point. So let's move on.
That's true.
Overwatch is really the only thing of note I've been playing. I'm still playing a lot of League, practicing a lot of different characters in League, trying to figure out what I want to do. I really enjoy playing jungle. I wish I had more people to play with. I play with my brother-in-law Ben a lot, but outside of that, just don't have a ton of people who will play. Hint, hint, Larry, download it onto your PC. I don't know if he's gone, if he DFO'd. There he is.
Look, I'm just being super polite, muting my mic while I go deal with some allergy situation.
Oh, okay. Well, we definitely appreciate that. So, but yeah, hint, hint, Larry, download League, hint, hint.
All right, I'll do it right now while we're streaming.
All right, there you go.
My computer struggles to stay in this video call, but I'll be ready to play League.
All right, well, let's move into our topics. And Larry, I'm going to spring it on you that I did not change the order in the top here, so it's actually your go first. What topic did you bring to the table for us today?
All right. Well, just so you're aware, I do not have permission to create stream markers for this channel.
Oh, really?
So
okay, that's
that
cool.
plan tanked.
That's fine. I created one.
All right, cool. So I was looking at a Forbes.com article. Video games can be a gateway to problem gambling, the FTC was warned. And so if you remember last week, we touched on this a little bit, or maybe it's 2 weeks ago, that the FTC had this forum where they were looking specifically at loot boxes. And so Forbes has just released this article about how the FTC was advised about how the loot boxes can be a problem for people who have struggled with gambling addiction. And, this is just, it's kind of obvious stuff. And we've talked about this on the show, that loot boxes are a form of gambling. Mm-hmm. You can spend real world money for the chance of something that you might want. And so they touched on how this is a problem for younger players in particular, because it may condition them and be their first taste of gambling, and it could be a problem later on. But this article focused on people who have gotten over their gambling addiction, and this can be like a stumbling block that knocks them back into it. And so there are a lot of the same mechanics. You've got the random chance for the prize, sure, but also the flashing lights and sounds. It's all very reminiscent of a casino. And when I read that, I thought I've never actually been in a casino, but I've seen them on TV. And I thought about the noises and the way the loot boxes go through opening. I was like, yeah, they do capitalize on a lot. Like, they build excitement in the same way that the machines used for gambling build excitement. So again, I just wanted to reference a quote from Stephen Mansfield at his podcast. He was talking about the Second Amendment in particular. He's pro Second Amendment, but in a podcast about that issue, he said, if you don't police yourself, someone else will do it for you. Mm-hmm. And that stuck with me. And we've said for months now that this loot box issue is an area where some people are doing it well, and then some people are doing it in a predatory way. And if that continued, someone's going to step in and take action. And so the FTC is beginning to consider those sorts of actions. So I had this at the bottom of what I was going to ask, but let's just start here. How do you think this story bodes for the future of the government intervening on loot boxes? Do you think it's becoming a more likely possibility?
I don't know, man. I go back and forth on this, because I think on the one hand, the government is far too uneducated on loot boxes to really make a big move on this. But then I remember that it's the government, and that their education
when
level
has knowledge ever stopped them?
Yeah, their education level on a particular topic doesn't necessarily stop them from making decisions about it. I think that the video game industry has a big enough lobbying arm in DC that it's going to be really, really hard for them to legislate anything without rattling that cage to the point where there's maybe going to be some financial and political backlash for certain candidates within it. And so I don't know. I think it's an interesting argument that it's not just, hey, kids are being exposed to these gambling mechanics and they may grow older and, succumb to gambling addiction. because that's a long tail study that we just don't have the time under our belts to make an assessment there. You know, we don't know how these kids who've grown up playing mobile games are going to adapt to real gambling in their adult life. So I think this is an interesting angle to look at it, this whole idea of like people who have struggled with gambling addiction who have overcome it are, you know, what did it say, twice as likely to slide back if they interact with these kind of mechanics in a game.
I don't remember. I'm sorry.
No,
I don't have it pulled up right now.
And so I think when you get to that point, when it's like, this is having a real life impact on individuals who struggle with regulated gambling to the point where it will push them back. It may push them back into those real life regulated gambling things. Then I think at that point, like, the government may feel some pressure to step in more because there are direct studies showing this correlation. Not to mention just the fact that video games have, become a target for government rhetoric here in the last few weeks as well. And so I can just imagine this conversation getting conflated with that.
Yeah. And that's kind of my thought too. These two things in conjunction. Like right now, games are a popular political target, and what might have hurt a candidate to go after 2 weeks ago might actually earn them some points right now. And unfortunately, for most political candidates, they care more about what points they can earn than whether they're actually doing a good thing or not.
Mm-hmm.
That was probably too general, but
I think you'll be hard pressed. I think it'll be hard pressed to find many people who will disagree with that statement you just made.
Yeah. So I feel like it is just something that's looming more and more. The fact that the FTC is looking at it, and I'm honestly to a point where I'm not super opposed to something happening, but I'd rather just see, like we mentioned you mentioned this idea several weeks ago, just see the ESRB like slap a warning on the cover that this game contains loot boxes and maybe a little explanation of what that means.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe just put it in plain terms. This game contains gambling elements where real life money can be risked in exchange for the chance at a prize.
Yeah.
I think that's how parents need to hear it, because as I've heard you talk many times about parents and GameStops, even that is probably not direct enough.
I've been stepping back and thinking a little bit more about the conversation we had either last week or the week before when the ESA got together and said they're going to start requiring drop rates to be published, or certain publishers were vowing to publicize their drop rates. I've been thinking about that a little more, and like we talked about it as if it's a good thing, and I think it is a good thing. But we also talked about how other forms of gambling require that. You know, you think about the lottery; they have to publish their chances, your chances of winning. Do you think that a move like that kind of legitimizes this conversation that we're having about, in the eyes of people who are not as familiar with loot boxes, that, oh, well, they're telling you your chances to win certain object, and so like it creates this mental correlation automatically between loot boxes and actual gambling. I'm saying actual gambling. That's not what I mean. I think loot boxes have, connections to gambling, but what is legally recognized as gambling today.
I'm sure it does. For me, I might be hesitant at first if I were just hearing about loot boxes. It might take me a while to piece together, oh, that's the same thing as gambling. And in fact, it did take me a while to think of it in those terms. But if you throw up the chances of winning, I'm like, oh, okay, this is like a sweepstakes or a lottery ticket.
Yeah. But and so I think when you get to that point, like, I agree with this whole statement that you need to regulate yourself, police yourself before somebody else does, and that's a Jim Sterling argument with loot boxes as well from the Jimquisition, and I'm sure he's not the only person who said that in this argument either, but I think it's going to take more than just we're publishing drop rates to take the heat off. I think it may buy them some time, but what is the way that there are several regulations placed on, casinos and the lottery and those sorts of things. Number one, there's an age restriction on how old you have to be in order to participate in those things. I think it's 18 to play the lottery. But then like to go to a casino in Vegas, I think you've got to be 21, right?
I'm not sure.
There's the whole, you have to publicize your chances of winning. And then the second thing, and then another regulation is anytime you're doing something that's seen as gambling, is you have to also provide resources for how to reach out if you have problem gambling. And so I think if the ESA really wants to take the government pressure off, then they have to say every game that has loot box mechanics is going to automatically receive an M rating. And that's going to fuck over, FIFA and Madden and these games that have annually had E ratings. But we're placing an age restriction on it. We're already asking publishers to make public the drop rates for the things that they win. And if you're going to include these games, then you have to provide an in-game disclaimer about how to reach out if you have a problem. Because, and the thing that is the smoking gun in the whole conversation to me is when you read about how publishers and developers talk about the whales for these games, and the fact that they know that they're designing this around finding those very obsessive individuals who are going to spend thousands of dollars on this game. That's the smoking gun to me. They're not living, these games aren't living and dying by the me and yous who go in and may occasionally drop $1 or $2 on something. They're living and dying by the people who are going in and spending thousands.
Yeah. Something you said I wanted to go back to, and I've lost it.
I'll say everything
the M
over
rating.
again.
The M rating. Like that may seem extreme and it may screw over some games, but here's the reality. If it is gambling, then we've already established as a society that is an activity for adults. And I think you're hard pressed to define it as anything other than gambling. And if that is the case, then kids don't need to be able to access it. Now, I understand parents will buy the games and there's no way to keep kids from doing it. And I imagine with online gambling, it's the same thing. Like you got to prove you're old enough. But like some people are slipping through, I have no doubt. Right?
Well, dude, we were at that gas station a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
That like we saw an old woman buying her daughter or granddaughter lottery tickets, who was like, what, maybe a couple years older than your daughter? Like she was what, 7, 8 years old? Like it happens, but it doesn't mean you shouldn't police it.
Yeah, make it harder. So yeah, I guess the next thing I kind of want to talk about is, and I feel like I'm shifting in my thought on this, but is this mechanic of loot boxes inherently bad? If it's not, when does it become predatory? And so I'm lumping a bunch of stuff in together. Is it inherently bad? And the reason I'm asking that is now in light of the fact that, this is affecting gambling addicts. Like, should gambling addicts just be avoiding these games at all costs? Is the mechanic too risky for people and children altogether? Or is there a point when it becomes particularly, okay, this is now a bad mechanic?
The word inherently here is a little tough to navigate just because in a vacuum, I think absolutely there are ways you can do these mechanics to where it adds to the fun of the experience and it's not, and it's in and of itself predatory, but that's not why these mechanics are in any game. Like, that's not why any of them exist. They all exist to take advantage of a particular segment of the audience who's willing to spend that amount of money. And especially on the mobile side of games, it is egregiously geared towards children who are playing these games to spend that money. And the thing that makes gambling so bad is not the gambling of it in and of itself. Nobody is saying that going to a slot machine and pulling down the lever is bad. It is the financial ruin that it can lead to. It is the real life financial consequences that it can lead to. It is the real life relationship consequences that it can lead to. And there are stories that have been published about people who get addicted to these to these mechanics in games and spend outrageous amounts of money on it. There are stories about kids who run up credit card bills for their parents because They're just given like the liberty to go in and buy as much as they want, and it's impacting real people in real financial ways and in real relational ways, and that's why gambling is regulated. And so why should loot boxes not be regulated by somebody? Again, I don't want Congress voting on this thing, but somebody needs to step in and lay the guardrails down.
Yeah. Yeah, right now the only people deciding how far is too far are the people trying to get the advantage.
Exactly.
And that's led me to, like, there was a time where I was like, no, it's not bad, but there are some risks. And I guess I'm just getting to where without somebody policing this, the risks are outweighing the benefits of the financing of the ongoing game. Like something needs to happen to keep kids from stepping into this addiction, and to with the addicts, I think about the warning label aspect. It is entirely possible that you could buy a game and not realize you're getting into a loot box situation until you're in it. And they need more of a heads up than that.
Especially as more and more companies take established franchises that have been long known and then inject these into it. When you think you're just, I'm going to download a SimCity game because I remember playing SimCity on my PC back in the day. Oh shit, I've got to pay for additional playtime or whatever on this mobile game.
Yeah. Okay. I guess the last thing I kind of want to get into is, we've established we need to be able to monetize games if we want them to be long-term games that last for a while. We don't want to pay for DLC anymore as gamers. We don't want to pay more than $60 a game as gamers. But we want more content, and we don't like that has to be paid for. And so and we've talked about this before, but I just want to cover it again because I feel like we've been thinking about it a lot, and maybe we've got some more ideas, but is there a way to do that without loot boxes? Is there a solid established way to have ongoing monetization of games so that developers can get paid for their work and we can continue to get products from the people that we enjoy playing their games?
So the rub is this. There have been obviously other ongoing monetization models that we've seen in the gaming industry, starting with things like season passes and map packs and those sorts of things. The balance that publishers and developers are having to strike is, we need to have content that people are willing to pay for post-launch, but not content that splits them away from the player base that is unwilling to pay additional money for the things that are going to come out. And so that's the problem we're running into. And so you look at a game like Overwatch, which has a loot box mechanic, and it's all cosmetics only, and is probably one of the more reasonable loot box mechanics at the end of the day compared to a lot of other games. But you dropped $60, 3 years ago now, and you've gotten every single character, every single map, every single new game mode, every single event for completely free without having to pay a dime for it. And the reason for that is because they realize, like, if we're going to charge people for Paris, the map Paris, that's going to split our player base, because there are going to be a group of people who aren't willing to pay for it, so can't be dropped into those queues, and queue times are going to get longer, quality games are going to get worse, and so they have to strike that balance. So I don't think we can go back to the whole season pass idea. There are some games that do that effectively. You think about like Rainbow Six Siege, Destiny, but even those games have microtransactions within them, but not necessarily loot boxes. So the Circle Hunter says Paris is garbage. I don't want it anyway. A lot of people would agree with you there. Well, it's a 2CP, and a lot of people would agree that they just want all of those out. But
I would like a refund on my Paris map, please.
Just email Jeff. He'll get right on that for you. So yeah, I don't think we're going to be able to go back to that. I think we're going to move more towards like what Epic does with Fortnite, where yes, they have loot boxes, but you can see what's in the loot box before you buy it. And so, I mean, how much of a loot box mechanic really is that? But but it keeps you engaged because, hey, you may not want this thing that's in this loot box now, but that loot box refreshes in 2 hours, so come back or whatever. So more of that, and more of just like, hey, we're gonna charge you for a skin and you just get what you pay for.
Mm-hmm.
I think those are the two main things we're going to see moving forward.
Yeah, I'd like to see more of the charge for skin, you get what you pay for kind of idea. The two things that stand out to me as really good ways to monetize are I think that the season pass and the way that Apex and Fortnite do it, where you can progress and it's purely cosmetic without the pass, or you buy the battle pass or whatever, and you've got more stuff you can unlock. I think that's a decent way to do it. I haven't played League in years, but League used to be set up in such a way that there was a rotating selection of characters anyone could play, but you had to like buy the character if you wanted to be able to play them all the time. Is that still?
Yeah.
Like, I think Overwatch could do something like that. And maybe not because it's established something else from the get-go, but especially the way people decide on their main and just play their main anyway.
Yeah.
I think that Overwatch could benefit from that. And with me, sooner or later, I would have wound up buying most of their characters just because I have the deepest character pool ever in Overwatch.
Yeah.
So those are things, but there are also things that have been done, which leads me to believe that the whales they're going after with the loot boxes have just been so profitable.
Oh, yeah.
That nothing else is going to compare.
Oh, yeah. Circle Hunter brings up an interesting point in the chat. He says, I do not believe that the loot box system as a concept is, for lack of a better term, inherently bad. But what we see now is a lack of developers regulating it with the intention of taking advantage of people. If there were limits on how often one could make an in-game transaction, or if there was a cap on per-day spending, that would at least be a step in the right direction, in my opinion. I think that's an interesting point. I don't think it'll ever happen. But
Yeah.
You think about something like alcohol, and you go to a bar. I bet a bar would be like a bar, if you're looking at it from a purely financial standpoint, a bar would love to just have an alcoholic in there who they can just serve and serve and serve and serve. But there are limits, and they're not necessarily hard and defined. But in order to maintain your ABC license as like a liquor distributor, you can't overserve the people who have these problems. And so if somebody is clearly has a problem with this on that given night, then you have the responsibility to cut them off. If you're working at a grocery store and somebody who's clearly drunk comes through trying to buy alcohol, you have a responsibility to cut them off at that point. And so
and if they go on and do something and hurt themselves or someone else after you've sold them alcohol when they were clearly past the limit, you can be held responsible for that.
Yeah. And so I don't know. Do I think something like that would ever happen? No. But do I think that there is precedent for something like that? I think absolutely. And so, yeah. No, I like that point.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. Because in these digital marketplaces, you just don't have somebody. You don't have the guy standing at the counter being able to say, sir, you've had enough.
Yeah.
And to put an automated one in would be better than nothing. But not beneficial to the company.
Yeah.
And what matters more, Luke? What matters more?
I don't think my answer matters.
Yeah, that's all I got really. I felt like it was worth talking about again because the FTC is obviously taking this seriously. They'd spent a whole day looking at this one issue, and I expect things are going to change soon, and I hope companies get ahead of it and put limits on themselves that make sense. And I really hope we find a better mechanic that is beneficial to companies, but also not predatory to people who have addiction issues. But I know that is a hard problem to solve.
Yeah. And maybe mutually exclusive.
Yeah.
So. All right, well, let's move on to my topic. I want to talk about Twitch. We've been talking a lot about Twitch lately, but I think that we've got a large snowball rolling down a hill right now that we need to try to figure out how much damage it's about to do. So Twitch has had a rough few months lately. There's actually the great gaming news site windowscentral.com put together an article called "Why is hashtag Twitch's Over Party trending on Twitter, which let's just discuss here at the top, Larry.
Let us, please.
Worst hashtag ever, right?
I hate this trend. I feel like an angry old man right now, shaking my fist at the clouds. But this so-and-so or such and such is over, so-and-so is canceled. I hate these hashtags.
Oh, I don't mind. I mean, I don't like it when it's about like people, but like I would be fine with if this hashtag was just Twitch is over, or even better, Twitch is canceled. Like I think that would be kind of funny because it's a live broadcasting thing. You know, canceled is this old word that's used in television broadcasts. Like I think that would be funny. But Twitch is over party. What a terrible hashtag. Whoever is responsible for coming up with the hashtags on Twitter, hit me up. That's how it works, right?
Yeah.
There's just one person.
I think it's Tom from MySpace.
Oh, okay. Man, he's doing real well for himself. So let's just walk through some of these things that have happened as listed here by Windows Central. So first we had, and these are in no particular order. This is just the order in which they're presented. There was the Twitch streamer Alinity who tossed her cat over her back when he jumped up on her desk while she was playing a game, just like whoop, right over her head, causing a lot of outrage. And, you know, I was pretty upset by it. But what was even worse was this also brought to light the fact that she had served her cat vodka on stream at one point. And from what I understand, Twitch did not comment on the Twitch did not comment on the situation or reprimand Alinity in any way. Next one. Another Twitch user, Amaranth, has come under fire for what many are saying was the use of a racial slur during a stream. Did you get a chance to see this video?
I did not.
I'm definitely not going to play it on stream. But I feel like it's pretty clear that she says the N-word in this clip. She argues that she was slurring her speech from a lack of sleep and that she was saying in grocery stores. But you guys can go find that clip and be the judge of that. I don't believe any action was taken on that either. We also had the incident with Dr. Disrespect, where he walked into a public restroom at E3 and live streamed while people were going around and using the bathroom around him, which is a crime in the state of California where he did this. He was banned for 2 weeks before coming back to an insanely large reception. Oh, another incident with Amaranth. That's kind of similar to the Dr. Disrespect thing, was she was live streaming herself exercising and stretching at a gym when she refused to move her camera so families wouldn't be seen in the background. When the gym asked her to leave, she stated it was, quote, because she was white, end quote. So yeah, then we have the Dr. Disrespect thing. He comes back to all this fanfare. Then we have Ninja leaves Twitch and goes to Mixer for what I'm sure is more money than I will ever see in my life. But then Twitch tries out this new feature where if you go to an offline channel, they will say, hey, check out these other streams that you might be interested in. But they were only doing it on Ninja's channel. They didn't roll this out to everybody's offline channel. It was just for Ninja. And they said, Ninja's not here. How about while he's offline, you check out one of these streams? And for 2 hours, Larry, they promoted a live channel that was streaming hardcore pornography on Ninja's dormant Twitch channel.
Well, at least Ninja wasn't a prominent gamer in a game that caters to children. Oh, wait.
So 2 hours, that was up. Ninja released a scathing video about Twitch's irresponsibility, the fact that he had been professional in his transition to Mixer, had not said an ill word about Twitch in any way, shape, or form, and that Twitch was doing things that harmed his brand, rightfully so. Twitch did take action in this instance. They struck the channel that was streaming the pornography, and they issued an apology on Twitter to Ninja. But it all is like, again, the snowball effect, Larry. I've just talked about a lot of news, and so I just kind of want to initially here at the top get your reaction to just the shitstorm that has been Twitch.
I want to point out one more from a while back. What was the game they streamed all weekend? That was
oh shit! I
they
almost
didn't
said
stream it. I'm sorry.
Artifact. When the Artifact channel got commandeered. Yeah,
and it took a whole weekend to even
it was
get around to
it was a holiday weekend, Larry. You know, nobody was around at Twitch.
Yeah. It makes me feel like whoever is running this platform, like just the amateurishness of them.
Oh, they're a little company called Amazon.
But I mean,
yeah, I get it.
Before Amazon purchased the channel, right?
Yeah.
Like, what I'm getting at is like Twitch kind of took off, and like I don't think anyone, when Twitch was launching, foresaw how big this was going to be.
Well, so do you know much about Twitch's background, like where it came from?
I don't actually.
So Twitch actually started as a little website called Justin.tv. Did you ever hear about that? Probably popular when you were in college.
Yes.
It was popular among college students for a very particular reason, and it was because you could watch pirated sporting events on Justin.tv. I watched so many NFL games on Justin.tv, so many NBA games on Justin.tv, and it was a cesspool of all kinds of different live stream content, and it was a little bit of a wild west. So, So yeah, Twitch has its roots in some chaos and messiness and not so great things.
And that's what I'm getting at. Like the wild west of Justin.tv is not maturing into the civilized age that it needs to be maturing into. And this is really bad in this particular turning point in gaming, where you have a lot of people that want gaming to be taken seriously. We want it taken seriously as an esport. We don't want it to be viewed as something childish, but a lot of Twitch's platform caters to and even highlights the classic gaming stereotypes of the immature people, the toxic culture where we're just going to be jerks to each other and haha, that's hilarious. That's great content. And so I have a hard time viewing this series of stories as missteps so much as this is kind of what Twitch is. And I want it to grow to more than that. But does Twitch want to grow to more than that? Because you're going to have to cut some people out of it. And hey, that's a loss of views.
You actually make a super interesting point that I've never really thought about. I've always thought that like the next step for Mixer is to kind of seduce away one of the big esports to come over to their platform if it's Overwatch or League or Rainbow Six, Rocket League, one of these games to jump over to Mixer. But I've never thought about it from this other angle of like, as esports is trying to legitimize itself, how much do they want to attach themselves to a platform? Because like Overwatch has an exclusive streaming deal with Twitch, I think for the next 3 years. And so the more and more, and every time they're on Disney XD, they're like, all right, well, if you want to watch the next game, come on over to our Twitch channel. And so they're really putting out there like, hey, Twitch is our streaming home. At what point does Twitch burn enough bridges and make enough missteps, quote unquote, to where esports organizations are like, this is making it very difficult for us to legitimize as an industry from the broadcasting side?
And I don't even think, let me think how to word this. Like right now, if I look at how, and we're going to talk about Mixer more in a little bit, but as I look at how Mixer conducts itself and enforces things, and I look at how Twitch enforces things, Mixer is obviously the more professional platform right now. And I have to think that if Overwatch were right now, if this were the moment Overwatch were trying to navigate and launch their esports league, I don't know that Twitch would, even though it's bigger, I don't know that Twitch would be the platform that they would go for. Because if I wanted to be seen as legitimate right now in this moment, I would not be going to Twitch.
Mm-hmm. And especially because, and I think this is the difficult thing with the whole ninja story is, okay, this is how you're going to treat me if I move on to bigger and better things.
Mm-hmm.
This is how careless you're going to be with the brand that I've built on your platform. Because as much as Twitch did for Ninja, and I will willingly admit, like, Twitch has done a ton for Ninja. Ninja has just done just as much for Twitch in return. And for them to treat his brand and his channel like this upon him leaving, other big streamers have to be looking and saying, like, well, what happens if I move on?
Mm-hmm.
Like, are they feeling handcuffed because of things like this? Or does it enrage them to the point where they're like, man, well, if this is how they treat people when they just try to make a move that's good for them, then maybe I should just go ahead and make my move now.
And there's an element of you get what you celebrate, right? And you know, I hadn't thought about Ninja, but in this age, and he seems like a young guy. I don't know how old he is.
I think he's our age.
Oh, okay. All right. He struck me as younger, but
nah, he's like a former Halo pro.
Oh, okay.
Like back in the day, yeah.
But he's conducted himself with such professionalism in an era where you don't have to. You can be like someone popular online, and being a jerk isn't going to lose you any viewers. In fact, it might draw you a whole new audience. But he didn't go that route. He took the high road. And Twitch's response is to be real jerks to him. But then I think about Dr. Disrespect engaging in just bad behavior. And maybe Twitch wasn't the one like celebrating the triumphant return of Dr. Disrespect, but they allowed that narrative to happen. They made it easy for it to happen. And that's the culture you're going to reproduce. And people may not outright think, oh, if I'm the nice guy like Ninja, I'm going to get lashed out at. But that, I think those things are going to have effects.
Yeah. Ninja is 28 years old, by the way.
Okay.
And he's had his share of controversy and snafus along the way as well. But a creator is not the same as a platform that has leadership teams around it. Like, you live stream yourself long enough, you're going to do something stupid, you know? But when you've got a boardroom of people who are looking at these situations and doing nothing, we have seen no kind of changes after the Dr. Disrespect stuff, following the narrative around that was like, well, he's just going to come back and make way more money than he would have had he just been streaming for those 2 weeks, and he did. There seems to be no direction for Twitch to improve in those kinds of ways, which are becoming more and more important to, at least, I don't want to make it a generational thing. I think more and more people are becoming conscious to the platforms and the companies that they are tying their names to. And that it's less about, this is the place that's going to give me the biggest potential for an audience, and more, this is the place that I want to go because I believe in it. And it's even, I mean, and just to be totally transparent, and we haven't really hashed this out with Cody yet just because he's been out, but it's made me pause personally with, and we don't have a huge audience over here on Twitch, obviously. Like, we're just kind of getting started with this, but it's made me question, like, is this really the place that I want to build stuff? Is this really the place that I want to work so hard for that company to take half of the money that I pull in from the work that we're doing? You know, like, and I think, and if it's giving us that pause, we're not the only ones.
Yeah. And as a parent, if I had a kid that was old enough to start, like, I trusted them to be on a platform like this, and they wanted to watch games being streamed or whatever, like, I'd be like, I've got Twitch where they really celebrate some bad culture. They let people abuse animals on stream and don't do anything about it. They've had multiple instances of broadcasting pornography that just stayed up for a while. And then I've got Mixer, which seems to really enforce things. I'm pushing my kid toward Mixer, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, let's talk more about Mixer. We're kind of into this conversation, but do you think that not just the ninja move, because the ninja move is naturally going to get people to ask questions about whether or not they're streaming in the right place, But do you think a cumulative effect of these kind of more negative stories are going to cause a lot more creators than just people like us to say, maybe it's time to move elsewhere?
Yeah, I think absolutely it will. Um, and we already brought up Tom from MySpace tonight, but but I actually thought about MySpace with this question, right? For a lot of people, moving on from MySpace to Facebook came down to this platform is constantly pushing content on me that I don't want to see.
Hmm.
I don't think Twitch is in that position yet. But if I hop over to Ninja Stream to check something out and boom, all of a sudden my computer's screeching pornography, uh, like that's boom, I'm out of here and maybe I'm not coming back.
Yeah.
You have enough of these screw ups over, oh crap, this girl just abused an animal. No one's banning her. She can do it again next week if she wants. We're not even gonna say anything about it. Oh, this guy has a camera in a bathroom. What a creep. Like over time, yeah, I think if they don't get it together, then there are going to be people turned off by the whole platform.
Yeah. And this is the first time that Twitch has really had legitimate competition in this space. I mean, you had Ustream, which was not much of anything. YouTube Gaming was one of Google's kind of half-assed attempts at something like Google Plus and that sort of stuff. And this is the first time where it feels like they have a competitor who's willing to do the legwork to get things right. And Twitch just is continuing to operate as if they're the only player in the space. And it's just not the case anymore. The leash gets a lot shorter when there is a pasture to be perceived as greener across the way. And I just think that's where we are with Twitch right now.
And you said, obviously Ninja going over to Mixer is going to take some people with him, but that's what makes it even more important. Like Twitch could not have taken that hit at a worse time. Like for Ninja to transfer in the midst of all of this is going to bring it that much more to the forefront. It's going to make Mixer that much more of an obvious option.
And reinforcing the fact that this is not a conversation that we're having because we see an out. It's a conversation that has been ongoing that is now amplified because we see an out. Like we were talking about the Dr. Disrespect stuff on this very show long before Ninja decided to go to Mixer, so it's a megaphone in front of the conversation that's already been ongoing.
Yeah.
What do you think Twitch needs to do? We're a podcast of solutions here, Larry. We will bitch about things, but we always want to propose solutions. In your opinion, what are the big steps for Twitch to make publicly facing that can help kind of stem the bleeding a little that they've been experiencing over these last few months?
There need to be clear guidelines that are clearly and obviously and publicly enforced. Like if I abuse an animal on a stream, I should just be gone. Like I don't think that's I don't think that's even like a short ban. I think that's all right. That's jacked up. We reported you to law enforcement and you're gone from our platform. And I think it's obvious that Twitch just doesn't want to lose some of these streamers that bring them a lot of views, but you've got to make those decisions or the negative people are going to be influencing the platform as a whole. Dr. Disrespect, okay, what he did, I don't think that's like a permaban thing, but it is a ban thing. And you kicked around some ideas back during our conversation surrounding that where maybe it was Cody, I can't remember, but someone had the idea of when he comes back, like he can't monetize for a certain amount of time. It's so that he can't capitalize on the triumphant return of Dr. Disrespect. Like make it a long enough time period that the excitement of his return fades away and it's not like a big boom for him to come back and make a big splash of money. But at the end of the day, like I just perceive Twitch as a platform that has no real restrictions or enforcement. And that's what needs to change.
Sorry, I'm looking something up here. Because what I don't remember from the Dr. Disrespect story, and maybe you might while I'm looking it up. Did Twitch ever release a statement on the Dr. Disrespect incident?
Not that I'm aware of.
Because there's a lot of stories about Dr. Disrespect's whole on behalf of the brand of Dr. Disrespect, we apologize. I'm not seeing a single story about here's what Twitch said following. Yeah, June 12th, Twitch has not issued an official statement explaining its decision. So this idea that like their biggest creators, they're just we're gonna nix your channel, you're gonna be back, but we're not gonna make a big deal out of what you did. Like, I agree with everything that you've said about having clear guidelines, and that's something that Mixer's faced a little bit of backlash for, just the perceived strictness of their guidelines, and that's an argument for a different day. But at the end of the day, what's important is that they have guidelines laid out clearly, defining exactly what they mean when they say something is against TOS, and they have clearly defined consequences if those terms of service are broken. Twitch does not have that, and I want Twitch to have the guts to come out when one of their biggest creators like Dr. Disrespect does something boneheaded, and they come out and they need to say, as a platform and as a brand themselves, look, we do not encourage our creators to participate in the things that Dr. Disrespect just did. We respect the privacy of those who may find themselves in front of a camera that's broadcasting on our platform, and we want to take every measure that we can to ensure that their privacy is maintained, yada, 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 and throw this big creator you've got under the fucking bus and just be willing to do it. Like, there's network television stations that do that with names much bigger than Dr. Disrespect when they do shithead things, and it really just, it gets under my skin that Twitch seems to have no publicly facing backbone in situations like this.
Even with Ninja tweeting an apology. There are a lot of people on Twitter, but there are a lot of people on Twitch who are not on Twitter that have no idea that you even did anything to make it right. I don't think that's enough. There needs to be a lot more transparency and taking ownership of things, for sure.
Yeah. Well, not to mention just the whole fact that, and you mentioned it kind of in passing in a tongue-in-cheek kind of way, but we should be legitimately upset at the fact that they allowed this. And I don't think anybody from Twitch like clicked and dragged this pornography. Like, it was an algorithm thing that put it there. But regardless, this existed being promoted on a channel that the main part of his fan base is underage.
Yep.
Like,
I feel like there should be fines of some sort for that, but Twitch is going to luck out because we're kind of in the wild west of these sorts of things.
Yeah.
Like, if that had happened on broadcast television, like legitimate television, heads would be rolling. But
what would have happened if Ninja would have went up on a stream and then just pulled up porn for 2 hours and just played it for his audience that was coming in? There'd be hell to pay for it.
Yep.
But Twitch just has this different standard for themselves, and so I agree. They need to get their shit together in terms of their TOS and the way that they police it. But I don't know. It's funny. I feel like we're sitting in somebody's living room and shitting on them while they're just in the kitchen washing the dishes, since we're doing this on their platform. But I don't know. I'm starting to have a little bit of a moral quandary about leveraging Twitch as a platform.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. And what makes it worse is, like, I don't have even the slightest inkling that Twitch has any plans to even begin to address any of this.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the weird thing, is like that we're never met with like, we are sorry this has happened and we are working to ensure that something like this never happens again. Like, we're never given that kind of language. And it's just because taking money hand over fist, baby. But I think Twitch is so gun shy with this sort of stuff because Dr. Disrespect does represent a massive fan base on Twitch that can start. We would reach a tipping point much faster if they took significant action against Dr. Disrespect than we are with this death by 1,000 cuts. And I guess that's what Twitch is looking at. And they're saying, it's more beneficial for Kotaku to write a couple pieces about how we're shitty, or, these podcasts to talk about how we're shitty, rather than us to mobilize the millions of people that follow Dr. Disrespect and will be really pissed if we do anything of any, significant consequence to him.
Yeah.
What a shit situation, man. All right. Well, Larry, I think that's all I've got. Do you have anything else on that topic you want to touch on? All right.
No, you cut out on me for a second there, but I'm assuming you asked if I had anything else to say, and I don't.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for us tonight, man. We're ending on kind of a strange note there, but I think this is an important conversation for us to be having, and I think it's going to be a conversation we're going to have more internally as well, just to kind of give you a glimpse into our minds.
If Twitch doesn't start saying something about some of this stuff, like I'll be pushing pretty hard in those internal conversations, just to be honest with you.
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you, man. Mixer.com/PvA Radio.
We better go ahead and create it.
We've got it. Yeah, we got it.
Okay.
Don't you worry. All right, guys. Well, we're going to get out of here. Larry, who are you? Where can people find you? What are you going to be tweeting about this week?
I'm Larry. You can find me on Twitter at LarryHuntsZombies, and you can see me tweeting more excitedly about the return of Are You Afraid of the Dark? Did you know that was coming back?
I saw something about that. Very exciting. How was you didn't get a chance to go see it. The Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark.
I was so excited, dude. I was so pumped. That day was such an exciting day for me. Couldn't wait. And my wife and I went out to lunch, and they gave her food she was allergic to. And so we got to go home, and she got to be sick instead of us seeing a movie.
I've heard really good things about it. So,
well, Del Toro's involved. Anything he's involved is golden.
I'm Luke. You can find me on Twitter at LukePVA. And I'm not sure what you're going to find me tweeting about this week. Probably just go follow the Tales from a Gold account, where I'm just going to be tweeting all of my tales from the new 222 lock. So, but this has been PvA Radio. We get together each and every week over here on twitch.tv/PvA Radio at 9:30 p.m. Eastern time on Wednesdays. Each of us brings one of the biggest gaming news stories of the week to the table. Then we have an in-depth discussion about it. Consider it your collaborative audio feature article, or your CAFA, if you will. And you know what we want you to do with that? We want you to go to a tattoo parlor, all right? With $25 in hand and say, this is all I got, bro. But this is what I want. I don't care how shitty it is. Put it on my body somewhere, okay? And just let that tattoo artist do $25 worth of work on your body with the goal of CAFA in mind. We also want you to spam that emote in chat. If you can't watch us live over here for these shenanigans, you can find us on youtube.com/PvA Radio the very next day, where we break this out topic by topic, or you can watch the entire episode or listen to it on podcast services everywhere, including iTunes, Google Podcasts, and Spotify. Wherever you're listening to us, subscribe, like, comment, leave us a review. It's all greatly appreciated. And until next week, guys, we love you. Goodbye.
Why, that's the second biggest monkey head I've ever seen.
I used to be an adventurer like you. Then I took an arrow in the knee.
Did I ever tell you what the definition of insanity?
Would you kindly pick up that shortwave radio?